Welcome to the next episode of DAIScover, Alumni Secrets to Success, a place where we explore stories and insights from DAIS alumni who've gone on to create impressive careers worldwide in different fields. I'm Vansh Aggarwal, the current head boy at Dhirubhai Ambani International School and an 11th grader with a strong interest in finance. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal, who was in the batch of 2007. He's currently the Chief Investment Officer at Motilal Oswal and manages around $1.5 billion in assets. He also founded Teji Mandi in 2021 and brings 14 years of experience in the Indian equity market. I'm very grateful to have you joining me today, Vaibhav, and it's a pleasure to speak with you.
No, it's my pleasure to be talking to you today. Thank you so much.
Can you tell the viewers or the listeners a little bit about yourself that we maybe wouldn't find online?
Yeah, so, I think I've always enjoyed playing racket sports. I played table tennis competitively. I married someone who was in the education and philanthropy space. And now my son is also actually going to start going to EYC at NMAJS. So I think life has come a full circle for me.
That's great to hear. As a current student, I'm quite curious about your experience at DAIS. So before we dive into your journey with finance, let's start with something nostalgic. What kind of student were you at DAIS? Were you hardworking, extroverted, introverted, or?
I think I was a little more academic focused because I wanted to get into or try and get into some of the top universities. But yeah, I think enjoyed playing sort of table tennis. I used to participate in MUNs. So I think I had the full sort of experience. When I came in, I think I was a little more introverted, but I think as I left, I was obviously a lot more sort of outgoing and social.
What about classes? What was your favorite subject and least favorite subject?
I think favorite was maybe Math HL. I think my least favorite was English SL because that I think it was more like on the literature side, which I think I wasn't sort of maybe so inclined towards.
And at our school, these events like sports day, annual day, school trips are a big part as well. Do you have any fond memories? Because I know we do right now.
Yeah, so I remember I'd gone for Thaiman at The Hague. So that was very interesting because I think it was like the first trip for me without like sort of, going without parents or any of that kind of stuff internationally. So I think that was interesting going with your schoolmates. And then I also enjoyed the trip to the Jamnagar refinery that's there from DAIS every year.
Yeah. And okay, let's start talking about finance and hear your advice now. So for high school students, we know that school is a very important place to start shaping up your interests or maybe what you want to do later in life. So for you, were there any early influences like maybe a teacher, a class, or any activity that you did with school?
So I think economics sort of was a little bit of a focus on, more at a country level in terms of, how countries would put trade barriers or, what kind of economic policies you did to stimulate economic activity in the country. So I think that gave me some idea into sort of how things work. I also had the benefit of having my father being in the same field, so that I had some sort of qualitative understanding. And I think, just sort of reading the newspaper every day, I think that is also a great place to kind of start.
Yeah. And, a big, maybe not stress, but a big worry for high school students is there like there's pressure to be certain about what you want to do. Would you say that you were certain after high school?
I mean, I was certain that I wanted to do engineering and then maybe eventually find my way into finance. And I was sort of keen on 2-3 sort of universities. So I think given that my decisions were, or my outcomes that I wanted were relatively in a narrower set, I think it made life a little more clear for me in that sense.
And do you have any advice for the people who aren't sure maybe or any advice on how they can obtain certainty?
So, I don't think everyone has to be clear on day one. I think, even if you go to a university that sort of allows you to explore different subjects, or you can meet different people from different walks of life who may have exposure to maybe a certain area that you're keen to talk about or that you want to know more about. There are a lot of guys even on YouTube, like you listen to a lot of YouTube lectures or YouTube talks. You can learn a lot actually about different fields. You can also connect with the alumni of, for example, the Ambani school. There's a lot of people from in many different walks of life. So I think that's the best way that you will get to sort of organically over time get to know what you want to do.
Yeah. And after school, you went on to study computer science at UPenn and then an MBA from London Business School, right? What do you say? What do you think drew you to those institutions?
I think Penn, basically, I think it was one, it was obviously, it's a great university, one of the oldest in America. The other is, I think it had this one university concept where you could be studying computer science, you could be taking a liberal arts class, or you could be studying at the Wharton Business School. And at least at that time, I don't think there were many universities that allowed you to do it. So that's what drew me to it.
And what about, like, do you think those institutions played a key role in how you viewed finance or viewed business?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, like when you're 18 or 19 years old, if you get to meet those kind of people, I think it definitely. I mean, I was also part of, for example, a student on mutual fund at Penn. No, I think that was a unique experience for me. So I think it definitely, like the platform and the kind of people you meet, it definitely opens up your eyes.
And like, I'm trying to understand where you got maybe the motivation to work in finance. So was there a particular class or a particular teacher that inspired you or that changed your views on anything?
I think again it was organically, it happened over time because basically, I mean, I would study computer science. Honestly, I mean, I think for me, like engineering was a little bit of a struggle in terms of studying and understanding. And finance was something maybe I was drawn towards, both through the clubs, even through some of the classes I took, and even during the summer when I used to do summer internships. I think I was able to get a knack very quickly. So I think organically over 2-3 years, I think that kind of shaped my decision up. It was not like something clicked to me overnight. It was more an organic thing over time.
Nowadays, for high school and college students, even maybe, internships are a big part to get an aspect of the real world. Could you tell us a little bit about an early experience of yours at an internship?
Yeah, so I think in my sophomore year in college, basically I interned I did a marketing internship, which was a little different from just the mainstream finance work that I'd done earlier, and that was more about actually selling financial products to non-financial consumers. So that was very interesting because, for example, you take like soaps and shampoos. I mean, so you have to make something maybe as drab as like a financial product into something interesting, which becomes worthwhile for someone to sort of look at it, or attractive enough for them to sort of buy it. So I think that internship also opened me to the idea of how marketing and how sales actually function in the real world. And so then that gave me some understanding outside of just fund management and finance.
Yeah, you mentioned clubs and summer internships. So we know that extracurriculars are a big part, especially to apply to college. What did you do, and do you have any recommendations that would stand out for a student?
So I think nowadays the kind of things that people are doing is like way more than what we did back in our time.
Right.
But I did focus on again, like I used to play like table tennis competitively, or I used to attend MUNs. I did a little bit of social work outside of school as well. And so I think these 2-3 things I think I did, which were basically the focus for me from an extracurricular standpoint at that time.
And could you tell us a little bit about your transition from college to career life, like maybe something unexpected or something important?
So when I started off, I think I started off in a different company, and I think there were challenges because it's a very different environment. There are people who and I started directly from India, so like there are people who come from very varied backgrounds, so sort of getting used to that kind of an atmosphere when you've been in America for some time. Also, I mean, just maybe getting understanding the nuts and bolts of sort of what they're doing, because most of the guys who were there were MBAs, and I was probably among the fewer undergrads there. So I think there was a learning curve for maybe 3 to 6 months.
Right.
And then I think it was a smooth journey after that.
And you founded Teji Mandi in 2021. So could you tell us a little bit about the founding process? Because I know many high school students are interested in entrepreneurship, but would love to have their own project.
Yeah.
So
it was so what we noticed is that in India, if someone wants to directly invest in stocks, there's no structured way to kind of do it. Like you can of course invest in instruments like mutual funds or things like that, but if you want to have a direct stock portfolio of your own, There's no structured way to do it. So we founded it with the idea that there are enough and more people who want to do it. So there's a big enough problem, and since we had the expertise to tell people how to sort of invest, so we married both of that, and then obviously, we had a tech team and all of that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Teji Mandi, maybe the people you work with and what you've learned from it?
Yeah, so actually, I co-founded Teji Mandi with another high school friend who also went to school with me, and so it was great. Like, again, a high school friendship turning into something that you do together later on. And again, the idea was very simple. He had more of a tech. I mean, he was focusing more on the tech side of things. I was focusing more on the strategy, the finance, getting the team together. And so in that sense, it was a synergistic sort of a partnership that we had. And again, I think the idea or the name of Teji Mandi came from the fact that you, like, just as you're bull and bear,
Right.
in the parlance of Wall Street, like that, you have Teji Mandi in India, for more mass speaking sort of users. So that's how we came up with the idea of the name, and that's how we sort of founded the company.
What would you say is important for maybe someone in a leadership position? Like, what were key elements of your leadership style?
I think one is, you should obviously first believe in what you're doing. Second is, you should know how to handle yourself, because if you want to go and handle many other people, you should first know how to sort of handle your own self. Oftentimes, people are not able to control themselves and they're leading large teams. So I think that's one very important thing you should do. And the other thing is, you should try and lead by example, in the sense that you believe in something, you should do it, and then I think the rest of the team automatically follows. So that's where that sort of came.
So for high school students, it would be important to like find a unique problem. And
so, I mean, I obviously did this after many years of being, maybe of 10, 11 years of working. So I knew the industry, I knew what problem I was solving. I think in high school, if you're like really passionate about starting a company and making it big, I think you have to understand the problem deeply enough before you can solve it. Because if you don't know what you're solving, then oftentimes you can waste a lot of time as well. So it's better to define your problem statement very well before you start solving something.
And what is one challenge that you maybe encountered and overcame from founding your own thing? Like, what is one lesson that you've kept with you till today?
Yeah, I think you should make sure that your addressable market is large enough, because ultimately everyone has to work hard to make something big. But it will not be big enough if your addressable opportunity size is not big enough. So you should make sure that the monetization capability or the addressable market that you're catering to is sizable.
And I know many high school students, like even me, are interested in stocks, finance, and investing, with like the media coming up and especially in lockdown. Where would you say is like a good place for a beginner like me, maybe, to start learning or investing?
So I think there's a book by Peter Lynch called One Up on Wall Street. I think that's an all-time classic, and it's a very easy read. I mean, I'm sure it's easier than the high school economics textbooks that you guys are reading. It's more commonsensical as well. And if you get time, you can read the Shareholders' Letters by Warren Buffett, I think from 1975. He's written for Berkshire Hathaway.
So do you think it's good to start early, or would you advise maybe getting some experience and then?
I mean, you can definitely read it out of your curiosity. I think nothing stops you from doing that. And then maybe as you go along, you can also dip your hands, get some experience of your own. And if you want, you can also, nowadays there are a lot of virtual stock markets as well, where supposing you like a company that you understand, maybe say something like Zomato, just very random example, but it's easy to understand. You can just buy some, like you can go to a platform, just say that you buy, say, 10 shares of it on that platform, and then you see how it does over time, and then you can keep tracking it. And then in the process of doing it, you learn a lot.
Right. And I want to talk a little bit more about like maybe balance, for if you can remember from when you were a student, like how would you handle, you said you played table tennis professionally, how would you handle like mixing fun and work and to get into a good college when times are very stressful?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I played table tennis more at a competitive level, not so much professionally. But I think to balance, like you're saying, how do you balance having work and fun? I think you do that a lot more in college, I think, than you do even in high school. But The way I think I would put it is that you have to make sure that when you're doing work, you're like fully focused. I mean, when you're maybe doing like you're studying or you're giving an exam, I think you're fully focused on doing that. And then maybe when you're having fun, then you keep your mind away from work or academics, and you sort of really be involved. So whatever you do it with full concentration and involvement. I think that's the best way. Then you can get the maximum use of your time.
Are there any like tricks or tips that you use to maintain concentration or focus?
I mean, I don't know. I think no. I think if you can maybe just spend like 5 minutes a day doing some breathing exercise or anything like Headspace or some meditation tool. I think that definitely goes a long way.
And we know obviously you've been very successful, but I'm sure it must have come with its own challenges. And we've learned that failure is like a big part of eventual success. Could you tell us maybe about one specific challenge that you had and how you overcame it?
Yeah, so I think so. For example, when I was starting up with Teji Mandi, so we didn't start directly with Teji Mandi. We had some other iterations before we got to Teji Mandi. So I think we learned a lot of the like a lot of aspects of startups through failing. So because like you come up with a certain idea, you try it out, it fails, then you move to the next one, and so iteratively I think you figure out sort of what works, what doesn't work. In investing, for example, I think I thought something made sense from a theoretical standpoint. Like if I'd seen it in theory, it made sense, but maybe if I was more experienced, I would have realized that it was not the right thing to do. Right. So yeah, I think that's how you kind of learn. I mean, the only way you learn is by actually doing. So till you don't do and you don't make mistakes, and you maybe try and get mentorship of some people who are seasoned in the industry, or I think that's the best way to sort of learn.
Okay, I'd like to maybe get some general advice for students now. At your time in school, I'm sure you built a very important support system, your network, your friends. How would you say that helped you in your future?
I mean, I think you should definitely have a support system of people, because if you have folks who can give you, diverse opinions on the same topic, you would not imagine that you could look at the same problem from a very different viewpoint. So oftentimes having friends can save you maybe 3-4 hours of studying, because they may tell you the same thing in a very in a specific way. So I definitely think you should have a bunch of close friends, and or even your peer set for that matter. If you're friendly with them, you should definitely try and see if they can help you out.
Could you speak a little bit, like maybe do you have like a specific friend from school or someone that you're still friends with?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I think there are 8 or 10 people from school who I'm yet in touch with and quite friendly with. And I think, so I think we've been in touch now since the time we graduated as well. So it's been a while. I think almost 18 years now. So yeah, I think that's how it is. I think once you're in high school and you have to make the effort to keep in touch. But if you do that, I think over time you definitely make some friendships that really go a long way.
Throughout your journey, maybe when you were younger or even now, have you had like an inspirational figure, maybe one from your personal life and one general one?
So I think when I was in high school, I think definitely Steve Jobs was someone who everyone looked up to. I think his graduation speech that he gave at Stanford, I think was definitely something that I yet even remember today. So I think Apple products also had just at that point started again becoming very popular with college students and with the mass in general. So I think Apple was a company which we looked up to, and I think I visited the Apple campus a few years later as well. So that was definitely somebody who I looked up to. I think in terms of personal mentorships, I think I didn't formally have a mentor up until much later in my life. I think I used to keep speaking to my father quite a bit, because I thought he was very experienced at that point. Later on in my life, I had more people who I became closer to. But I think till I graduated from high school, there was no formal mentor as such, but he was someone who I maybe look up to or took advice from.
And talking about mentors, that did networking play a big role in your life? Like, did you find yourself often reaching out for help, or would you hesitate to reach out for help and regret it later?
I mean, I think at least. You're talking about high school, or you're talking. I think usually I've generally found people have been supportive. If you reach out for help, most people are willing to help. It's just that oftentimes we don't seek that. We don't look out for it. So the other people then don't actually help you. So if you're open to it, I think there are enough and more people. And in the US universities, I think the atmosphere is even more sort of collegial.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps.
And before we end, could you give maybe specifically to high school students one piece of advice?
Yeah, I think you should. Obviously, everyone's trying to achieve. Everyone's probably wanting to get into a great university, but I think don't forget the friendships. Don't forget to have fun, because that's. I think in one of the classes, one person, I think he's a very successful guy. He said that like you may be a very ambitious person. You might be achieving a lot, but don't forget all the good moments you have along the way. Whether it is your friendships or whether it is, someone's birthday or something like that. So make sure that you have fun along the way. And you enjoy the journey as much as you achieve your destination.
And quickly, what is one thing you wish your high school self knew?
Just what I told you. Yeah.
That was an extremely insightful conversation I just had with Mr. Vaibhav. I personally learned a lot, and I hope you all did too. With that, we come to an end with today's episode. Stay tuned because we have many exciting guests coming up for you soon. I'll see you next time.